Shawn Oakman is one of the most intimidating figures to ever play football. Standing at 6'9" and weighing 287 pounds, Oakman was a future NFL star, or so everyone thought. From the controversial years at Baylor to his Canada escape, today we're finding out where it all went wrong for him. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's rewind to where it all began, Philadelphia, where Shawn Oakman was born into a world that would put anyone's resilience to the test. His family struggled financially, and early on, Shawn spent time in foster care. By the time he was in high school, he was already a towering presence, standing well over 6 feet and still growing. His natural build and athleticism turned heads, and coaches quickly recognized his potential. At Penn High School in Lansdowne, Oakman's athletic potential exploded. He was not only a standout on the football field, but also excelled in basketball. His performance earned him statewide recognition and several All-State honors. Oakman was clocking impressive sprint times as well, which made him a unique combination of strength and agility. Opposing teams had no idea how to handle him, and honestly, he probably terrified more than a few linemen just lining up across from them. Soon enough, college scouts started to take notice. Now remember, Oakman wasn't just big. At 6'9" by the end of high school, he had an incredible athletic profile. He could run, he could jump, and he had a relentless drive on the field. So it wasn't just local colleges interested in him either. Major programs across the country saw him as the future defensive star, and offers began to roll in. Penn State saw his potential and offered him a scholarship as well. And while Penn State seemed like the perfect place to launch his career, his time there would turn out to be much more complicated than he or anyone else could have predicted. Shawn Oakman verbally committed to Penn State on July 3, 2010. Right away, Oakman faced the challenge of moving from high school to college level competition, which is a huge jump. In high school, he had relied on his size and athleticism to dominate, but at Penn State, he was suddenly up against players who were just as big and strong with far more advanced skills. Coaches at Penn State saw his raw potential, but knew he'd need to refine his technique and improve his discipline. And I don't think Oakman had the patience for that. It didn't take long for things to go wrong. In February 2012, during his redshirt year, Oakman found himself in a tough situation. He got into an altercation at a campus dining hall where he tried to get a meal without enough points on his student card. The incident quickly turned physical, and Oakman was accused of grabbing a female cashier's wrist to retrieve his card, which she had refused to return. The fallout from the incident was significant. Head coach Bill O'Brien, who was trying to implement a disciplined, no-nonsense culture at Penn State, made the decision to dismiss Oakman from the team. For O'Brien, this was about setting a precedent and showing zero tolerance for any incidents that could tarnish the school's image. However, Oakman was devastated. He was now back to square one. For any athlete, especially one with the NFL as their goal, getting dismissed from a major football program is a massive setback. Fortunately, Oakman still had options, and after some time away from the field, he transferred to Baylor University. But make no mistakes, this wasn't just a simple move from one program to another. The Penn State incident left a mark in Oakman's record, and he arrived at Baylor with something to prove. He had to show that he could stay out of trouble, focus on his game, and become the player everyone believed he could be. Baylor's coaching staff, led by Art Briles, was known for taking in transfer players with something to prove. The team saw Oakman as a perfect addition to their defense. He was a beast physically, and if they could channel his talents in the right way, he could become a truly dominant player. Baylor's defensive system, which emphasized aggressive play, allowed him to use his size, strength, and speed to full advantage. Oakman seized the opportunity, hitting the gym harder than ever to prepare for his debut season with the Bears. Then came the 2014 season, the year that would put Oakman in the national spotlight. Two performances stood out: Baylor's game against the University of Texas and Kansas State. On October 4th, 2014, Oakman was facing Texas in Austin as he recorded 2 sacks and 3 tackles for loss, consistently breaking through the Longhorns' offensive line to disrupt plays. His relentless pressure not only stifled Texas' offense, but also set the tone for Baylor's defense, which held the Longhorns to just 7 points in a 28-7 victory. In a season-ending showdown with high stakes, Oakman once again proved his value as a clutch performer. Baylor faced Kansas State with the Big 12 championship on the line, and Oakman rose to the occasion. He recorded multiple tackles and a critical sack that disrupted Kansas State offensive rhythm, helping Baylor secure a 38-27 victory and a share of the conference title. He recorded an incredible 11 sacks, 52 tackles, and an astonishing 19.5 tackles for loss, numbers that put him among the top defensive linemen in the country. He became the centerpiece of Baylor's defense, and his aggressive playstyle quickly caught the attention of scouts. Oakman's fame reached a whole new level during the Cotton Bowl that year, where a now legendary image of him on the Jumbotron became a viral sensation. Social media exploded with memes and commentary, dubbing him the scariest player in college football. Overnight, Oakman became a viral icon, and people who didn't even follow college football were suddenly asking, who is this guy? Oakman had the stats, the athletic profile, and the physicality that made people believe he was going to be a first-round pick, maybe even one of the top selections in the NFL draft. By the end of his breakout 2014 season, Shawn Oakman's name was buzzing in NFL circles. The decision seemed obvious: declare for the NFL draft and ride the wave of his incredible season into a pro career. Oakman had the stats, the physical attributes, and the media attention. For most players, a season like that would have been the perfect launchpad to go pro, but Oakman surprised everyone by announcing that he'd be returning to Baylor for his senior season. To a lot of people, this decision was shocking, almost unheard of for a player projected so high. But Oakman had his reasons. In his own words, Oakman felt he wasn't fully prepared for the NFL, both mentally and in terms of his game. He believed another year at Baylor would allow him to refine his skill, build up his confidence, and enter the NFL draft more mature and ready to succeed at the next level. At the same time, Oakman knew he was taking a risk. Returning meant he'd be exposed to another season's worth of scrutiny, potential injuries, and the possibility of a performance drop-off, which could hurt his draft stock. But he felt confident that the gamble would pay off. Baylor was entering the 2015 season with a strong roster, and Oakman saw an opportunity to elevate both his game and his team's success. Unfortunately, 2015 didn't go the way Oakman planned. Statistically, his production dipped. He recorded just 4.5 sacks, down from the 11 he'd put up in his junior year. Tackles for loss also decreased, and while he was still a dominant force, opposing teams had learned to double team or even triple team him, knowing he was Baylor's main defense threat. With all that extra attention on him, his numbers took a hit, and some scouts began to question whether he'd already hit his peak. As the season went on, the buzz around Oakman began to shift from surefire first-rounder to someone with potential but risk. The NFL isn't kind to players whose stock seems to drop, and the shift in perception wasn't something Oakman had anticipated. Looking back, his decision to stay was brave and genuine. I think he truly wanted to be ready, but it also served as a reminder of how quickly things can change in the world of sports. One year, you're on the top, projected as a first-round pick, and the next, your draft stock is down in the gutter. It couldn't get any worse for him, could it? In 2016, just as Shawn Oakman was preparing to transition from college to the NFL, his life took a dramatic turn that would change everything. Only weeks before the NFL draft, Oakman was accused of sexual assault by a former acquaintance, a charge that would not only impact his draft prospects, but also set off a legal battle that would stretch on for years. The timing of the accusation couldn't have been worse. Almost immediately, NFL teams removed him from their draft boards. The fallout was swift. No team wanted to risk drafting a player under investigation, particularly with allegations as serious as these. The NFL is quick to distance itself from any potential controversy, and the mere existence of the accusation was enough to render Oakman undraftable in the eyes of the team executives. As the 2016 draft came and went, Oakman watched his chances of making it to the NFL fade away. No teams reached out, and it wasn't even considered for underdrafted free agent status. It was a crushing blow. The legal battle itself was drawn out and exhausting. Oakman maintained his innocence from the beginning, arguing that the encounter had been consensual and that the accusations were false. Despite his insistence on his innocence, the legal process moved slowly, leaving Oakman in a state of limbo. With the NFL off the table, he turned to odd jobs to make ends meet, even taking work in a warehouse packing boxes. These jobs were a far cry from the NFL dream he'd worked toward his entire life. The transition was harsh, and he faced a level of isolation and disappointment that would break many people. In 2019, after 3 grueling years, Oakman's case finally went to trial. He was ultimately found not guilty, with the jury determining there was insufficient evidence to support the accusation. For Oakman, this verdict was a major relief. His name was cleared, and he was no longer burdened by the accusation. However, the damage was already done. Oakman's draft year had long passed, and his professional prospects had been deeply impacted by the years he had lost in the legal system. So Oakman pursued other football opportunities, joining indoor leagues and eventually the CFL. However, the path to the NFL seemed closed. Shawn Oakman signed with the Toronto Argonauts in early 2021, marking his entry into the Canadian Football League and a fresh start in his football career. Playing in 13 games that season, he quickly became known for his ability to shed blockers and disrupt plays in the backfield. Shawn Oakman delivered one of his standout moments of the 2021 CFL season during the Toronto Argonauts' crucial Week 6 victory over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. His game-changing sack on quarterback Dane Evans not only forced Evans out of the game, but also disrupted Hamilton's offensive rhythm in a tightly contested matchup. Oakman's performance was instrumental in the Argonauts securing a 17-16 win and claiming first place in the East Division. His physicality and speed off the line made him a nightmare for opposing offenses, and his presence was instrumental in the Argonauts' defensive strategy. Oakman finished the season with impressive stats. Over 13 regular season games, he recorded 24 defensive tackles and 6 sacks, showcasing his ability to disrupt opposing offenses. His performance earned him a spot on the CFL All-Star team that year. Rumors began circulating that Oakman's success could make him a candidate for larger roles or even consideration for NFL teams. Building on his successful rookie season, Oakman entered the 2022 CFL season with greater expectations and an expanded role within the Argonauts defense. By mid-season, Oakman's achievements had made him a fan favorite, and speculation grew that he could become one of the CFL's top-paid defensive players. Some media outlets reported rumors that other CFL teams might attempt to lure him away from Toronto with big offers, while whispers of potential NFL interest began to surface. Shawn Oakman concluded the 2022 CFL season as a key contributor to the Toronto Argonauts defense. Over 17 regular season games, he recorded 28 defensive tackles and 6 sacks. His consistent performance earned him a spot on the East Division All-Star team for the second consecutive year. Oakman's efforts were instrumental in the Argonauts' success, culminating in their victory at the 109th Grey Cup. In 2023, Oakman emerged as one of the most dominant defenders in the CFL. He delivered one of his best performances of the 2023 CFL season during the Toronto Argonauts East Division final clash against the Montreal Alouettes. Despite the Argonauts ultimately falling short in a 38-17 loss, Oakman's defensive prowess stood out in a game defined by turnovers and pressure. He recorded 3 first-half sacks, significantly disrupting Montreal's offensive rhythm and forcing quarterback Cody Fajardo to operate under constant duress. The Toronto Argonauts went on to achieve a franchise record 16-2 regular season, securing first place in the East Division. However, their postseason ended in disappointment with a 38-17 loss to the Montreal Alouettes in the East Division final. Shawn Oakman contributed to the Argonauts' defense throughout the season, recording 27 defensive tackles, 6 sacks, and 1 forced fumble over 15 regular season games. Despite his efforts, the Argonauts were unable to overcome the Alouettes' defense, which forced 9 turnovers during the game. In 2024, Shawn Oakman's journey in the CFL took another turn as he joined the Edmonton Elks. After proving his skill and resilience with the Toronto Argonauts, the Elks saw Oakman as a key defensive asset which could bring both experience and intensity to their lineup. At 32, Oakman is still performing at a high level, and his move to Edmonton showed he wasn't done challenging himself on the field. In Week 10, during the Edmonton Elks' 33-16 victory over the BC Lions, Oakman recorded 3 defensive tackles, secured a pivotal sack resulting in a 13-yard loss, and forced a fumble, his first of the season. Oakman's experience brought a stabilizing influence to the Elks' defensive unit, but he also provided more than on-field performances. As a seasoned player with a unique story, he inspired younger teammates with his resilience and dedication to the game. The only question left, will Oakman bring Elks to the playoffs in 2025? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe.